We're talking about Jesus as the model and what's happening, and he is the way, in his model. So we finally arrived to the heart of today's episode: God and moral association, the mystery of a juster fusion, or the divine fragment of God within us fusing. This is the ultimate relationship, the merging of the divine will and the human will into a single eternal being. We'll explore what fusion means, why it's destinies of evolving mortals, and how your daily choices prepare you for this profound union. This is where the finite meets the infinite and becomes something new. So what can you tell us about this fusion, Mark, that we kind of talk about, mention? So what's really happening and how are we associating with God?
Well, the fusion comes when you've sealed the deal with the infinite, when you've a reliable, mm, a reliable and dedicated ambassador of the goodness of God can be expressed through your personality.
I like that.
And
Can you please repeat it? I'm gonna, when you say those quotes, I like them. Please, can you repeat it?
when you're a reliable partner with the Father, and you can express the goodness and graciousness and divine qualities through your personality, through your little mortal personality that you've worked on since you were 2 years old, and you in the terrible twos, and as you grew up and you finally matured, you got to a point where God can actually rely on you. You're going to show up to work on time. You're going to, take care of all the duties that you need to do. And he has some great, great projects for you to work on, to be a part of. That's exciting that you can relax, that you're in God's hands. He's really controlling the ship. Just let him control it. But you have to say, not my will, but thy will be done. Let him steer the ship through the storms.
And like what you're saying, because a lot of there's a confusion in true liberty. A lot of people confuse this and say, I need to be completely unhinged and not be accountable. But that doesn't work. If we're all part of this perfect universe, we have to abide by certain laws, and they're not, restringent laws. They're not human laws. They're divine laws, and that's why we have to understand they're designed by, this super mind, the most high, the highest mind that has the structure and that allows, that freedom that we have to choose, and that's the beauty about it. You don't have to do it. Your choices. And when you realize that, when you put your hands at yourself in God's hands and you let him guide you and you go through this evolutionary path and you grow and then you start to worship and you be grateful and, start really enjoying and, even the hardships in life, that sometimes you want to steer away from. Even in some cases you embrace them because you know the transformative power they have. So every instant becomes really magical and really a moment to grow. And that's when you basically give, like you're saying, you say, not my, but your will be done. And that's so important.
But the other interesting part of this is God puts us in partnerships with creatures very different from ourselves. Very different. You think about a man and a woman, they're totally different. Psychologically, physically, they come together, and what do? They create a child. They couldn't do it on their own. They have to work together to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the condition that we will have to get used to in our eternity, to
Throughout
working with
eternity.
beings and creatures totally unlike ourselves, but have a different skill set than us. And when we combine our skills, we can do things that we could not do otherwise. You think about the
Definitely.
Trinity, how the Trinity has the different skills and the different domains that they are expertise at. That's a remarkable quality of what God does. And basically it's God partnering you with beings and creatures different from yourself.
Well, basically, the existence started with that partnership, that first partnership where God said, he thought of the Son and, associated with him. I mean, that triggered the whole existence, the whole sequence of existence. So if God associated, I mean, why? I mean, what's in it for us? Why
Well,
can't we? Yeah,
you couldn't be more different than a mortal like we are of animal origins versus and a divine being presence of God living in us. And then also with the seraphim, another celestial being that's coaching us and helping us with, their assistance. And if you have seraphim, you should give them a name. I've named mine Budge and Nudge.
you told
You
me.
should name your angels. You have two angels that are intimately associated. They know all your weaknesses and all your strengths, and they're there to coach you and help you. And so they want to be your best friend.
Let's put it that way.
You
Yes.
should be your best friend with your spiritual agency, right? And they have a sense of humor. Don't worry. They've seen your poopy diapers. They know all about you. They want to laugh with you.
Exactly. That's the point. It's not that they're going to be reprimanding you, or you have to be this righteous and upright and holy. No, I think that they indulge in your evolution. I think it's not the perfectness that you will eventually be, but it's that process and that struggle that you go through that they really enjoy.
Well, you're basically we're animal like in our nature, being mortal, you know. And if you've ever had pets, sometimes they pee on the carpet, but do you beat them? No, you just you try to train them so they don't.
Yeah, you teach
And
them.
that's what it's like, but you still love your pets, you love your kids. But anyways, it's a good sense of humor is a good thing to have as you progress through this journey. And um, that's part of joy. It's a joyful journey. It's not easy, but there's joy to be had in the spiritual journey for sure.
Definitely, definitely, and I think that these associations, and I mean the picture that you're painting is very uplifting, because you're not alone, and that really, when you're talking about the different things that we're going to work together, and the projects that we're going to be doing together. I mean, you kind of think, I mean, the different skill sets that each being
Yeah.
is going
Yeah.
brings, that just makes you wonder, and the types of endeavors that we're going to be doing, and really excites you. I mean, that's really something interesting. So, moving on with what you were saying, and I think you were mentioning a very important point. It's this fusion, and we're talking about when we decide to manifest, and that beautiful statement that you made. But how do we, apart from doing God's will, how do we get to that point in our lives? As somebody that's listening to us and is saying, but I have to go to a 9 to 5 job, and it's really hard, and I have a shitty boss. And how can you go beyond the mundane and really live this?
Well, see, the beauty of God's skills is that he can work with you whatever situation you are in. You could be a dishwasher in a busy restaurant, and God is still there. I have a friend who, as a young man, found Jesus and really was excited about his personal relationship with Jesus. And he had a job of going in a shipping container and finding packages that he had a list. And so he had to go in these shipping containers and find different packages with hundreds of different addresses on them. And he would go in there and he would ask Jesus, Jesus, help me find this package. This so and so Johnson address in New Jersey, help me find it. And he would find the packages so fast that he got the best employee for the company. And other
Really?
employees got jealous of him because he was so quick at finding the packages. And he asked Jesus to help him to do it. And to me, I that is a remarkable
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
to know that Jesus will help you.
And so
You got a flat
simple.
tire, he'll help you fix it.
Yeah, something that I don't wanna say simple, ordinary. Something so ordinary maybe, as like you're saying, changing a flat tire or maybe looking for, I would never thought of that,
Fixing
asking.
something or something.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I remember, back in the day when you had to have like a TV guide, you know, and where people that didn't live in the US, we had, like the satellite dish TV guide, which was like a huge thing. And it was like a monthly thing. And you couldn't watch TV because you had to travel through a lot of satellites. I remember being in my house, I was probably about 8 years old. And we couldn't find it. It was like 2 days, and we couldn't find the darn book. And suddenly, I remember I saw the Bible and I started praying. I said, Jesus, please show me where it is. And I remember in that instant going and opening, the last, and it was something that it was inside the dining room, something that you would never, and you would never put a book in there, but nobody went to look there. But it was, in that moment when I asked, boom, I said, the furniture in there, and I opened it up and it was right there. But yeah, it
Yep.
is, it is. And so,
Isn't that remarkable?
yeah,
That's totally remarkable that they would help you with these mundane little tasks that you wouldn't think they're too important, too busy. The point is that you asked and then you got an answer.
and it was sincere, I wasn't like, "Oh,
That's
come
the
on, help
key,
me." It's not like, "Oh, come on, God, please help me
you
win the
know?
lottery." Yeah, I don't think so. But, for something
Yeah,
that's
they're
like
more
this,
than parking angels, right? Everyone
yeah,
wants to know that my parking angel found me a place to park. Well, maybe your parking angel will have you park like a mile away so you get the exercise. You never, you
exactly,
know,
exactly, exactly,
you
exactly.
know, but the key is the personal relationship you have with your spiritual agency,
Yeah,
the amount of sharing that you do with your spiritual agency, which includes your thought adjuster and your angels. You don't have to worry about the the right person will get the right message. You
yeah,
can pray to the universal Father, or you can ask your angel to find you a parking place, but you know they have their tasks that they can do and they're good at. But the whole thing is the key to your progress is, are you good at relationships? That's the key. Relationships. And the first primal relationship is with your paradise father, because God wants a partnership with you. That's the second thing. Are you good at partnerships? Have you ever been in a partnership, a business partnership, or, a marriage partnership? Uh, but that's the key. It's integration with partnerships, and whether it's your angels, whether it's the universal father, or whether it's your grandchildren. It's your ability to have relationships and partnerships.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
the key to everything, you know? Because
And
as we practice that and we get those skills, we become better ambassadors for expressing the divinity through of God who's merged with us through our personality.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the relationships, and of course, I mean it's very simple, or not simple, but it's easier to have, when it's a loving relationship, it's a positive relationship, the easy relationships. That's God is easy to find, but when you have, those difficult relationships that you have to overcome, and it's not
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh, I need to be, I need to think beautiful thoughts." And there's conflict sometimes, with relatives that do
Yeah.
not bring the best out of you. And sometimes I always say, there's when you have, not that you have to just dwell in those negative or bad thoughts, but sometimes it's like throwing up. You need to get that out so you can understand what you're feeling and say, why am I mad at this? And at first it's you're up over here and everything is just you're angry. But once you start project taking it out and looking at it and analyzing it and realizing that that's not you, it's the situation or it's the circumstances, And that maybe and sometimes, and this is always hard to do, it's saying, it's not about me, it's about the other person. So even if they're just, bawling me out or calling me out or doing whatever, you have to, keep your cool, you have to keep your temper, and you have to do what's best for them, even if it's hard, in
And you
spite.
know what really I learned from is reading about Jesus and the relationships he had, and some were very difficult.
Yeah.
They weren't
Even his
all smooth.
parents, especially with his parents, I think.
Yeah, with his parents and with his younger brother, he went to jail with them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and with Judas, I mean, he had some tough relationships to navigate through. But the beauty is if you study Jesus and you wanna know about how did Jesus navigate through his life, there's a resource for you, The Life and
Exactly.
Teachings of Jesus, which, I you know, it's gonna blow your mind. It's gonna inspire you, and you're gonna learn how to do it. How did Jesus handle the difficulties in his life, and he had a ton of them.
Yeah. No,
That's
totally. And I like that you brought this up because we're basically going to close the podcast with this. But I'm glad that you brought this up because we have shared, the source of a lot of what we talk about, which is the Rancher book. I mean, you can read it, but we've created new materials or works that take that information, the lives and teachings of Jesus that Mark is talking about, and we have what's called Discover Jesus. You can go there. It's a practical study, one-on-one with you. You don't have to have anybody. That's why we call it Discover Jesus, because it's a personal journey for you to discover Jesus. And you can go through his lifetime. You can go through the different events, like these situations, the different people that he met, his relationships. So I encourage you to visit. You can check out our link tree. You can check out not only Discover Jesus, but a lot of other resources that we've created. So you can you can learn about what Mark is talking about. So I invite you all. So
alright.
Mark, any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and it's, been great to be able to discuss this with you, and I hope to hear some of your music if it's still out there, and if you're still playing it. I'd like to hear it,
Well,
that's kinda one
yes.
of my
Well, you can.
hobbies now that I'm kinda semi-retiring is gonna be to play more music and to study it and everything.
Well, I'll just because you asked, I'll make this little commercial. But yes, I don't play that much anymore because I don't have keyboards with me. But you can look us up at iMusic, iTunes Music, or Spotify. My band was called Satin Dolls. You can look at there. It's not the song, but my band was Satin Dolls. You can look it over there. You get some
Alright.
so the people that do know who I am can check it out over there.
Alright,
Who
I'll
I
do
used
that.
to be over there. But anyways, thank you, Mark, for being here. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, all of you, for visiting. Remember to, if you liked it, subscribe, put a notification so you know we're coming up. And especially if you like what we're talking about, share with other people. Maybe they'll find something worthwhile in our conversation. So I'm Santiago Neeland. This is The Divine Within. And take care and carpe diem. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.